Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is another installment of What If Cinema, and the topic at hand this time is Hollywood Reborn. What kind of genres would I pick for Hollywood to focus on after a potential collapse? Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this topic, I would like to give a special shout out to Deshaun or Deshaun for requesting this topic for discussion. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would personally like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal or to my Patreon. The link to both will be in the video description down below, and I will try to get to your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, this topic I thought was quite intriguing because if you've been keeping up with trends, you've been keeping up with what's going on in Hollywood right now, especially with these major studios, it does really seem like some sort of major shift is potentially on the horizon. Whether it's an entire collapse of the studio system remains to be seen, but it's definitely one of those things where the possibility of something potentially cataclysmic for Hollywood in general is more on the horizon now than it ever has been in the past. And I think if that does happen, it will be due to the over reliance on blockbusters and studios in general, and studios spreading themselves too thin with different streaming platforms, different revenue streams, or studios like Disney just buying up too many IPs to the point where they're hemorrhaging money because they are buried under more debt than ever because of the fact that they have all these other costs that could be sunk more than necessarily in the past. It's one of those things where, yeah, you can potentially get more revenue because of the fact that you have these extra IPs, but also on the flip side, you could also accrue more debt if these IPs are no longer as consistently profitable as they once were. And by that point, you're not really going to be able to sell these IPs for maximum profit to other competitors. So it's a sunk cost and it really bites you in the ass. So I think that that is something that could definitely happen in the future, is that this whole model that a lot of these studios have been using for so long, that is very archaic and honestly very inflexible, will eventually cause the whole system to go belly up. And if that were to occur, this is honestly the slate of genres that I would personally pick for a new Hollywood to utilize as it's trying to rise from the ashes. First off, I think the anthology film format is something that is uh, really a missed opportunity now. And with things starting from scratch, I think it's a good opportunity to resurrect that genre. Uh, it's something that you can apply not only to horror, but you can also apply to science fiction or to dramas or literally any genre you can think of. And you can make short mini films and make them as good as you possibly can make them with not really necessarily big names when it comes to actors and things like that. And you can put them all into an anthology film. And you can make these short films and you can really get the most out of them and put them into a feature film, release it, and make them on the cheap, which is an important thing. And then you could maximize some profit out of it. I think it's a very missed opportunity that I think would be primed to take advantage of in a scenario like this. Another genre I would like to see showcased more after the fall of modern Hollywood is the genre of creature features. It's another simple thing that you can get done for relatively cheap. It doesn't necessarily have to have big stars or big names attached to it, and can be effective and efficient and be successful. The scripts don't even need necessarily even have to be that complex. Just have a fun new creature and have some people who are getting attacked by it or have to find a way to survive the battle with this creature, this monster, and there you go. It's not something that's really going to cost you an arm and a leg, and that makes it so you can still make uh, a decent profit if it's a well-made film, a good production overall. And it's a genre that can be a genuine crowd pleaser, especially with practical effects, some gore, and so on. Now, another genre that I think could be uh, utilized in this scenario is the genre of a character or actor based comedy. A comedy that's not trying to be gross out, not trying to be the next hangover. A comedy that's just a straightforward plot that is focusing on a specific comedic actor with a lot of charisma and comedic ability and just allowing them to carry the film and just improvise at times and use physical comedy as well as their own inherent comedic talents in terms of storytelling or deadpan and create just a short, like 90-minute, but fun romp, fun comedy. I think we're missing comedies like that. The comedies that used to see starring Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Richard Pryor, John Candy back in the day, Jim Carrey, those kind of films, where you have an actor who is very adept at comedy, who is given a plot that really enables them to showcase their talents in a way that is not necessarily super complex or pretentious or anything, or just relying solely upon gross out gags or just trying to be offensive. No, a comedy that's just relying upon the star. I think that is something that you can make for really cheap and you can make a lot of money off of that. Look what happened with something like Beverly Hills Cop that starred Eddie Murphy in his prime. That was one of the biggest films of 1984. And if you look at it, Eddie Murphy, in a lot of ways, it's his energy, it's his charisma, it's what he brings to the film that makes that movie. It's not necessarily the script and it's not necessarily the plot. So you can do that kind of film and you could do it anytime. And I think you can really make a lot of money off of it. I think it's something that they're not doing as much of nowadays in the comedy genre, and I don't quite get it. So I feel that that's definitely something that you can really take advantage of during this rebirth period for Hollywood. And one other type of film that I would personally like to see more of during this period of rebirth is the renegade film. The type of film that you saw from a lot of different filmmakers in the 1970s. The the period where filmmakers were allowed to make whatever kind of film that they wanted to make. They could make whatever message they wanted to. They could really have carte blanche to go for broke, to take a lot of risks. And I think that's something that you could really get away with because what would this new Hollywood have to lose at this point? It's not relying upon blockbusters and established IPs, because that's not really what's going to necessarily keep you afloat. You can have a few of those, but really what's going to maintain interest and intrigue from a new audience is new things, new ideas, new innovations. And how are you able to do that? Well, you do that by allowing these filmmakers and these writers to go rogue, to be renegade again, to do the kind of things that these established iconic filmmakers did, that made them a name in the industry in the first place. Yes, ultimately it's something that cost these studios. That's why you have massive bombs like Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate. But you're not going to necessarily go for a film like that. You're in this scenario. You're starting from scratch. You're trying to stay afloat. You're not going to give a new filmmaker $100 million to do their dream project. You're not going to do that. You'll allow them to do smaller budgeted films, but still allow them to do what they want with it. I think that's a win-win scenario. I think that's something that current Hollywood should honestly do more of. These smaller budgeted films from these passionate and talented filmmakers, where the studio just sits back and just lets them make the movie they want to make. And it's not necessarily about profit, it's about creativity. It's about allowing these filmmakers to have the ultimate chance to express their tastes and what they want to do with the realm of cinema. So, yeah, I think if a new Hollywood would look at these particular genres or these type of films, I think that would really help it rebuild and genuinely have a rebirth from the ashes. Because if you're just going to throw all your eggs in one basket and you're going to focus solely on these big blockbusters and established well-known IPs and doing countless remakes, sequels, reboots, and adaptations of comics and board games and video games and all this other stuff, you will get to a point where those are no longer as popular as they once were. And you will also get to a point of oversaturation, and this over reliance on these things will eventually cost you. And you can see that happening with a lot of these studios. Look what's happening with Disney. They are hemorrhaging money right now because of this mindset, because of this approach. And if you're going to start over, if you're going to have Hollywood reborn, then you have to take a different approach, because there would be no point, in my opinion, of just doing the same thing all over again if you're given this golden opportunity to start over. But that's just my thoughts on the idea of Hollywood Reborn. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below in terms of what kind of genres or what types of films that you would personally like to see more of in this type of scenario. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.